Hey guys, how's it going? So, you all pretty much know me at this point. I'm one of your classmates, Dylan. Um, I've been interning here at University of Maryland Center for Environmental Sciences Integration and Application Network for about 11 months, and in my time here, I have had the privilege of dealing with all of pretty much our video production. So that goes from sort of helping Bill out with ideas for what we might want to make into a video, whether it be an interview, a seminar, a tour of Horn Point, and all the way into the editing, production, and posting of the videos. Have been pretty much a central part to my job, and I think I've learned a lot about the creation of videos in general and the ability to successfully integrate videos into science communication products. So I have prepared, I think, a pretty good overview of video usage in science communication for you guys. So let's just jump right into it. So what is a video? Videos come in probably a lot more forms than you would think. They come in full-length MP4s or MOV files, which are that's just raw video. I mean, those can be edited before you export them, but pretty much those are just really big files. They can also be GIFs, which is graphics interchange format, which GIFs can be made out of videos or a series of pictures. So that's what this little swimming crab is, and generally GIFs are pretty gimmicky, but I figured, and I actually later on in the presentation have an example of where you can use a GIF in a science communication format, but even here it's just a swimming crab that you can kind of see how it would swim in the open waters. It's kind of funny, but so videos can also be YouTube links, animations, which I found out are actually fairly easy to make, and they can be time lapses, which is also a series of pictures similar to a GIF that comes out in an MP4 format, but I figured I'd put it on there just because it's a little bit different. So, integrating videos into or to improve communication. So mainly in this talk I'm going to talk about embedding video files in a presentation. So just basically including your video in your presentation, whether it be PowerPoint or any other presentation software that you may use. So I'm going to mainly talk about that. You can also place the YouTube link right in the presentation, and then there's a ton of other usage of videos in science in general. I mean, from like Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson to just a standalone video on the front of a website that, like this one, which is on the Dave Secor's Marine Lab. And this just explains one of the projects that they're doing, and it gives a good overview and introduction to a website. But mainly I'm going to talk about embedding video files in presentations and how to do that. So first of all, some misconceptions about video usage in presentations in general, especially science ones, are people generally think that they're just filler, like this screenshot from a video on the left, people would say it's all visual. That being said, you can talk over it and make it a little bit more technical or keep it more general. Which brings me to the next point, that videos are oftentimes thought of as unscientific. And I mean, here to the right, I sort of show you an example of a pretty technical video usage. That's cellular respiration, the electron transport chain. So that's really down and dirty. But either way, if it's a broad overview of a project or a specific small video about a biological process, they can be very scientific, and they can be and at the same time be very visual. So why would you want to use a video in your presentation? So videos are time efficient. I mean, compared to a photo or just a paragraph, you can talk so much faster than probably anyone can read. So you can really pack the data in. You can show so much more with a video that you can't show with just a few pictures, and I'll show you that later on. But so it's basically an expanded view that puts viewers in your shoes as a scientist. So you get that video out in the field, and you can see all angles of their project. It's also can be really personal if you have an interview about your project. That even if you've conducted the interview yourself, it adds emotion. It sort of they hear your voice. They can hear the inflections in your voice and what it would be like to communicate with you or hear about your project. So that's a really good thing, is that it can create like a personal connection. So this is why to use a video in your presentation continued. This next point is mainly about the usage of videos on websites as standalone videos that I mentioned earlier. So it can allow you to promote your research to funding agencies, potential collaborators, and finding future students. So like this Mississippi River report card video screenshot over here to the right was used to pretty much promote their project, and it did an awesome job of showing all 6 aspects of the report card that they were measuring, and I think that's one great use. But as we're trying to stick to using videos for your own science presentation, they can be visually compelling, provide standalone content, which is again like website content, and let's see, you can use it to provide a break in your presentation. So say you have to give an hour-long plenary talk, you're going to need a break to get some water. You're going to need just some time to catch your breath, recollect your thoughts. So if you're defending your thesis, it can provide a much-needed break in the presentation and still capture the attention of the audience. So that's the next slide. And a point that I want to make here is that in this slide, if I was talking about the entrance to Horn Point, which is the bottom left photo, or the oyster setting pier, I mean, nobody's really paying any attention to that. They're just watching the video of the tour. So videos really do capture an audience's attention, and it's an opportunity to have full-on attention. So you want to make that video the full screen. You don't want to portion it up at all. So here, I did this as an example, and there are 2 other spots in this presentation where I talk while the video is playing, but that's just for efficiency. So you would want to make this video full screen so that they can put their undivided attention towards the video. And that's another benefit of videos as well, is their ability to capture attention. So what is video worthy in science communication? There's actually a lot. Explaining methods and demonstrating a process. So just your basic how you are collecting your samples. Introduction to your project. You can make videos for spatial reference, such as out at your sample site, or you can make like a Google Earth tour zooming in on where your site is or where your lab is. You can create a video of a PowerPoint presentation for a class to watch on their own free time, which sounds a little bit familiar to me, seeing as that's what I'm doing right now. You can also, videos are video worthy, subjects are video worthy, because they can tell stories, like how did your hypothesis come about, which starts a conversation and sort of can really capture people's attention, and it's an awesome technique that videos have. So here's an example of what is video worthy, demonstrating a process.
The oyster has a hearty appetite. As time-lapse photography reveals, adult oysters are capable of pumping and straining up to 2 gallons of water in an hour. The simple act of eating makes them the bay's most effective water filtration system. It has been estimated that prior to the 1880s, the oyster population was capable of cleansing a volume of water equal to the 18 trillion gallons of the Chesapeake in a matter of days. Today, it would take the bay's decimated oyster population over a year to accomplish the same feat.
So that was a specific process example, like oysters cleaning out the bay, which is an awesome use of a video, and you could use that in a similar respect in your own research to show a process. Bat migrations, for example, would be pretty cool. So another example is for your sample site location, which I touched on this a little bit earlier. So like if you are sampling from an SAV bed in the middle of the bay, you're going to want to give some reference points to that, or even just a photo of you out there in the middle of nowhere. It's not really going to put the viewer in your shoes, so a video would do so much better at showing your location. So here I got a little bit into detail. I gave an example of pictures versus a video of your site. So here are 5 screen grabs I have from a video. And instead of those screen grabs, which don't really tell a story and would also require a good bit of explaining, this is me on my boat heading out to the sample site. This is the SAV bed. Rather than having to explain all those, you can sort of just get that idea in this little video that I edited up here. So I headed out to the site. There's a site. Getting the equipment ready to test the DO. There's the SAV bed, collecting the sample, and that's it. And that was, a quick 8 seconds of video that was able to, I think, better communicate that and more interestingly communicate her sample site. That was from Cassie Gerbitz's thesis defense about 2 weeks ago, by the way. So planning a video, what to do. So before when you're just thinking about what you're going to make your video of, and some tips that I'd like to give you are to pack as much info in as possible. So this goes along with taking as many photos as possible. You want to take a ton of video and but pack the info in there so that you can edit it down. And it doesn't matter if you have to do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 takes. Just try and get through your project info fast. Think about your audience. So if you are going to be showing this video at a thesis defense, it can be more technical. But if it's going to be more a general public type video, you might not want to get too into the technical aspects. So then that goes along with thinking about how you will present it. Do you want your video to be able to stand alone, or something in the middle of your PowerPoint that will be more introduced than a standalone video? You want to keep your videos short, but that being said, when planning your video, that really only goes along with the brevity of your talking. You can take as much video as possible because you can edit it later, but you do want to be very brief about your explanations. So you want to be consistent in narrator and narration style, and you want to speak clearly and be professional. All of these things will keep your audience awake. So what not to do when planning your video: you don't want any fluff. So instead of like getting a video of you just an interview style of you sitting there talking about your project, it would be better to have like a video of you doing some sampling and then you can talk over that. You know, it cuts down on the amount of time that the video is going to take up, and you don't want a video that's too long because it's just bad news. So then what not to do, large video. So pack the content in, but if it's not necessary, leave it out. You don't need too much. Go off subject and don't get too technical. You know, here's a photo, two photos on the right about sediment diagenesis, and one of them is obviously way more technical than the other one. So stick with the bottom photo. You know, you can it'll be faster and it'll get the point across in almost the exact same way that you would with a more technical talk. Let's see. All right. So now that we've introduced why you would want to use a video and planning it out, here's some common misconceptions about videography tools. You know what scares people? It's way too expensive. Really, all you need is a phone and some software that typically comes with your computer. Basic editing software really does come with your computer. Usually, iMovie does. I know with new Macs now. People think that editing is really complicated. That it's, you know, when you see the screen of like some video editing software, it can be pretty overwhelming, but it's really not, and there are tons of tutorials that can really teach you how to edit in a snap. And that editing is extremely time consuming. Now, that depends on how much video you have to cut up, but you can be quick about editing up a video. I know with Cassie's video, it was about 2 minutes, and I think I edited it down to the 8 seconds. I just pulled the clips out and threw them together in maybe 15 minutes. And I've been doing it for a little while, but that being said, I think that was a pretty simple task, and I think anyone could really do that with just a tutorial or two of iMovie or a different editing program. So after editing equipment, well, before editing equipment, you'll need film equipment, but film equipment can be an iPhone, a camcorder, a GoPro, a flip video, a video camera. Those are all pretty easy to acquire. Some of them more expensive than others. But you can also, you know, if you don't have a good quality phone that can record a nice video, you can create videos online. So not all is not lost if you don't have a video recording device. Like you can go to makeagif.com and string photos together. You can use MakeAGIF to take videos off of YouTube and to split them into little 10-second clips that you could include in your presentations. You can use Google Earth tours to capture site tours, and then there are also animation websites like Movely and Animatron that allow you to sort of pull in pictures and animate them and move around the screen to different pictures that will allow you to explain a process. You can even add your own drawn photos to those animation websites, which is pretty cool. So just a little side note on that, Google Earth and MakeAGIF. So in Google Earth tours, you can take a tour and record it, but you won't be able to save it as an MP4 file unless you have Google Earth Pro. That allows you to have the attribution rights. You know, you've paid for it, so then you can kind of share your tour video. That being said, I sort of was like exploring some different options, and I strung a bunch of photos together using MakeAGIF to sort of do a little zoom in of a site location onto Hornpoint Lab here. So I'll show you that really quick. So this is just using makeagif.com, and it just zooms right in on University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science, where I am right now. And I had to go pretty slow. So there it goes. So that was, I didn't take too many photos. I strung together maybe like 14 or 15 photos, but you can see how that works. You know, it zooms right in on the location and you can slow it down or speed it up. So that's just one example. I'm sure there's other ways to capture a zoom in of your site, but I just wanted to show that. So just some tips for while you're out there filming. You want quality audio, if at all possible. You know, like think about your background noise. If there's a lot of wind, try and block some of the wind. It goes along with our photography lesson of just being mindful of your location. You know, if there's loud birds or um, if it's raining, you know, you definitely wanna think about people talking in the background. Your audio is really important. So if you can, you know, you can buy a microphone to hook up to your iPhone, and you could get a much higher quality video with just a little microphone. I mean, they can be under 15 bucks. Um, another tip is you want, and this is paramount, a stable video. I mean, if you're holding your video camera in your hand, it's going to be hard to watch for anyone. So if you don't have a tripod, which you can probably make one with a stick or something, um, like hold your hand out like this, and that'll that'll sort of stabilize your video at least a little bit. Then holding it like this, or put it down on a rock and like kind of wedge it in between something, or just any type of way to keep your video stable while you're filming is really important. So then also consider your field of view. You know, there's this picture in the bottom right corner um, of Judy O'Neill giving an interview about the U.S. Australia H2O project, and it's just shoulders up, and that's really, you don't need any lower than that. And even sometimes you could be closer in on the face, but in this case, they wanted to show the oyster setting pier in the background, so I thought that was a pretty good use of field of view. So you got to think about your background. You know, what do you want to include in the background? And that goes along with lighting. Indoor versus outdoor lighting. Indoor, it's probably going to be a bit harder. You want that light facing in the person's, like right on the person, so that they're not in the shadows. And then outdoor, if it's really cloudy, it could be tough. But you can see this video of Judy, and it's pretty cloudy, but it's clear. So indoor can just get rough sometimes with the lighting if you don't have enough lights. And always when you're filming, more footage is better. You can always edit it down later. So when you're in the editing app, there's a bunch of different tools, and I left at the end of the video. You'll see there's a YouTube clip of a pretty good iMovie tutorial that I used when I was first learning iMovie. But you'll have general editing features such as trimming, speeding it up, adding text, cropping your video, and those are all shown here. And that's just on a phone app. That's using Splice, which I have listed there under the phone apps, and that's a free phone app that you can just take videos on your So you could do all of this on your phone. You would never have to put it on your computer, and you can throw in pictures in there. You know, go from a video to a picture, back to a video to some text. So all of these editing programs are very useful. I mean, you never want to share a raw video. You want to edit it in some way. You know, speed it up a little bit, or cut it down some, or do some white balance adjusting. I mean, you really don't want to share a raw video. It just won't be as nice. All right. So I think that was a good overview of science communication videos and using them as tools in your presentations. It's I tried to touch on embedding them in your presentation. I embedded a few videos in this presentation. There's actually a difference. Like if you're using a Mac, you can't embed a YouTube video in your PowerPoint, while on a PC you can embed that YouTube video straight. As long as you have Wi-Fi connection, it'll be embedded right in your PowerPoint. You won't have to switch out of your PowerPoint and go on to like Google Chrome or Firefox or something to watch the video. You can actually embed it, but you can't do it with Macs, unfortunately. So you have to get the raw video file in order to embed it in your presentation, which is often done pretty simply online, using like a video to MP4, www.video2mp4.com. Anyway, so that was just a little side point on embedding the actual videos. It's pretty easy and self-explanatory. But so some takeaway points from this little presentation would be: videos are as scientific as you make them. So like going back to right at the beginning, whether you want to give a broad overview of your project, you want to just show your sample site location, or you want to show one specific process like cellular respiration or diagenesis, I mean, it's as scientific as you make them, and it can be really, really good tool for making a complicated process more simple. Editing videos is not as hard as you think, and you never really want to share a raw video. Video usage in science communication is pretty uncommon, but it can vastly improve how we communicate our work, and I think it should be used a lot more than it is right now. Videos allow you to express a process, a thought, or an overall project in ways that photos, diagrams, and writing cannot do. So that just goes right back to their ability to vastly improve our communication. Thanks so much for watching. Here's my email. There's some resources. There's the Bommy Video Awards, which is a really cool resource that Bill showed me. So check out some of those. And here's a video of integration applications, little office. So I just edited this up to put in the end here. Thanks so much, guys.